Alrighty, welcome back everyone, it's Garland here bringing you another Neverwinter video, and today I am finally releasing the Mod 12 Warlock Guide and Build video. So without further ado, I just want to toss out there a preface of, Warlocks are in a very bad place right now. A lot of people have moved on and changed characters, and there's nothing wrong with that. Currently, as it sits in the game, it's no surprise the Warlock is the lowest on the DPS charts. However, don't get this, don't let it discourage you. I still do fine, but keep in mind that I am that top 1% player base. Currently, Tomb of the Nine Gods is the endgame dungeon, and I don't really have any issues with it. I've been doing about 18-minute runs, 18-minute and 30-second runs. Now, however, remember that is a full end game group tearing through the content pretty fast. So my insignificant damage doesn't really matter. That group could take, a great weapon fighter or a hunter ranger and knock off, 2 minutes, 3 minutes of the dungeon, and do about a 15, 16-minute run. So is it really that big of a deal? Probably not. It is a big deal because, the Warlock should be doing DPS, however it is not. So, if you still are enjoying the Warlock and you still are maining a Warlock, let me know in the comments below what you're currently doing and how you currently feel about the current situation of the game. Now, without further ado, let's jump right into this video. First of all, we're going to talk about the races. In the previous video, we gone over how the human is going to be best in slot. Mathematically, it was proven. However, now in Mod 12 with a new dungeon, new mechanics that are going to be coming in 12.5 when it eventually gets released on console, things could slightly change. You might want to re-roll back to the Tiefling just for the 50% bonus. When mobs get to 50% health, you get the bonus for the racial. It's the same effect as the Fire Archon. So that is going to be completely up to you. I did not meddle with mine personally. I am still the human, and I don't have any issues with it. But like I said, if you want to further increase your damage, you can go back to the Tiefling for your, boss encounter fights. That way you will be getting that additional damage, as you're not going to be melting them as fast as we used to be able to do, especially coming in 12.5. So that is going to be completely up to you. You can either stay human or go Tiefling, and if you really want to, you can go Dragonborn for the 3% extra power. So it's all up to you and what race you want to do. Now, if you are still trying to min-max, I do recommend the human, but like I said, it's very situational in the current game meta. But as I mentioned earlier, it's not going to really matter on your race because the Warlock isn't doing a lot of damage in the first place. So if you're going to increase your damage by 2 or 3%, well, when you're not doing that much damage in the first place, does it really matter? Chances are it doesn't. So race is going to be completely up to you. Now, we are going to still be utilizing the loadouts. Now, if you can't afford to do the loadouts and use Hellbringer for AoE and Soulbinder for your single target encounters, then I would refer you back to the Mod 11 build. You can simply go through the Warlock playlist, find the Module 11 build, and go ahead and run that specific one. Just running as Hellbringer for both AoE and single target. However, if you can run the loadouts, then we will continue, following along with this guide. Now, if this is something you're working on and you're striving to get, then that's understandable. But as we know, loadouts are very expensive. You are going to need multiple pieces of gear. So I want to start off with things that are going to be used on both loadouts. And that, of course, is going to be your boons and your mounts. So let's go right ahead and start with the boons. Now, if you are lucky enough to be in a maxed out stronghold, you're obviously going to be using your power bonus. For your defense, it doesn't really matter. You can use your lifesteal or your defense. However, I choose the lifesteal. Now, Sharndar, pretty much nothing has changed over the past several modules. We are going to take the entire bottom row for Sharndar. Dark Fey Hunter, Fey Precision, your Elven Haste, your Elven Ferocity, and then your Elvish Fury. I'm sorry, I just said Furry. I meant Fury. Ha ha ha. Alright, as your Dread Ring, we're going to take the Conjurer's Gambit, Evoker's Thirst, Forbidden Piercing, Shadow Touch, and then of course your Rampaging Madness. Icewind Dale, the whole bottom row, Tactics, Refreshing Chill, Sleet Skills, Cool Resolve, and Winter's Bounty, which is going to be giving you more action points. Your Underdark is going to be almost the complete bottom row. Might, Focus, Tactics, Stamina, and then we're going to come down here and take Strikes. Tyranny of Dragons, you're going to take the Claws, the Gaze, Armor Breaker, Dragon's Greed, and then Dragon's Fury again here, working on your crit severity. The Maze Engine, we're going to take Siphoning, Influence, Swiftness, and then Baphomet's Might to further increase your crit. Elemental Evil, we're going to go with Wave of Force, Heart of Stone, Searing Aggression, and then finally Gale of Retribution, which again is going to further your crit strike. Storm King's Thunder, we're going to take Cold Hearted, Hardy Constitution, Icy Wrath, Glacial Strength, and then we'll come all the way up to the top and take Chill of Winter. Cloaked Ascendancy, we're taking Aura of Hope, Frenzy, Soothing, and then wrapping up with Aberrant Power. Now with Module 12, we're going to take 3 out of 3 of Tyrant's Terror, further increasing your power by 1,000. Now you can take other ones in here, but that's going to be completely up to you. I just recommend always taking the power. But, you know, if you want to really maximize damage versus dinosaurs in, you know, the map of, you know, Schult, or maybe further down the road if they release new content with dinosaurs, then 15% damage increase versus dinosaurs is, you know, very valid option. However, I just took the 1,000 power and HP. Now, the final boons, of course, is also going to be peripheral preference. Soul Siphon and Lingering Curse are going to be your options. I went with Lingering Curse. They're both mainly toned toward AoE situations. There really isn't a single target. However, I just enjoyed Lingering Curse more, especially for AoE. Especially in Tomb of the Nine Gods, the trash mobs in there do have a good bit of HP, so your Lingering Curse just, you know, keeps on spreading between all those trash mobs. So that's going to wrap it up for the boons. We're going to move into the mounts next. Just keep in mind, as I did mention, the boons and the mounts do not change in between the... Alrighty, and now we're going to quickly go over the mounts. Now, if you're lucky enough to own legendary mounts, then that's good. I currently still go with the Tenzer's Transformation as your legendary combat power. However, there are other options out there. You can use the legendary Lion. You can use the legendary T-Rex, as it does have a debuff that stacks with, you know, anyone else that does have a T-Rex. So the T-Rex is a very valid option, although I still prefer the Tenzers. Now, for my equip power, I run Pure Power on both loadouts. If we move into the stable, we are still using Protector's Camaraderie, Cavalry's Warning, Magistrate's Patience, Artificer's Persuasion, and then, of course, Assassin's Covenant. Now, I view the mounts as a little bonus as far as statistics go. You want to strive to get all epic insignias, and then whatever statistics you are missing, go ahead and try to make up as many stats as you can. So if you're missing, you know, Armor Pen, then you can get Aggression. If you're missing Critical Strike, then you want to go for Skill. Otherwise, you want to stack Dominance just for additional power. Alrighty, first I would like to go over the AoE aspect of the Warlock currently in Mod 12. We are going to be rolling as Hellbringer. Let's go ahead and start off with the gear. You can see my item level was 16,955. I can squeeze it a little bit higher, but it does cost a little AD, and I can't really be bothered to do it. So we are going to be using the mod 12 gear. We're finally going to get rid of the relic gear, just because I don't want to deal with the hassle of Vaughn and Blood anymore. So we are going to roll the 4-piece primal set, which is going to be the headpiece, the armor piece, the arms, and the feet. Now, there isn't a set bonus anymore. Each one of these pieces of armor do something different. So the helmet, you know, when you're damaged at a hero target, you're going to gain 1% of your health back. The chest piece, if you do 15% of your maximum hit points in a single blow, you gain 1% defense for 10 seconds, and it stacks 5 times. So it's not too shabby. Now the arms and the feet are the most important. The arms are when you do a single hit of 15% of your max HP, you gain 1% power for 10 seconds, and that stacks for 5 times. You should have no issues maintaining 5% power increase at all times. Now for the AoE situational aspect of these boots, this works out perfect. When you kill an enemy, you gain 3% action points. You're literally always going to be full of AP at this stage of the game. If you're up until this point where I am, I'm very rarely out of AP, and I'm just literally chain casting dailies most of the time. Especially if you're in an in-game group and all those buffs are being passed around and the DCs are cooling your encounters down, and you know, you're just spamming everything so quickly that, I mean, I'm very rarely not at full AP. And this just further increases that. As far as your weapon set goes, I am using the Ascendant set, in particular to the Aboleth set, which is going to come from mod 11. So if you don't have that, maybe you want to think about, you know, going back and farming that. So on the main hand, I am rocking Hellish Rebruk, and on the offhand, I am using ACC and then Combat Advantage bonus. We're still using ACC for the sheer fact that Flames of Empowerment is still broke. It is scheduled to be fixed, but that's not going to hit console anytime soon. Moving to the right side of your gear, we are still using the Orca set as it is best in slot. So that's going to consist of your necklace, your belt, and then of course the artifact. Shirt and pants has not changed yet. However, in mod 12.5, we will be getting upgrades. So whenever the console does get 12.5, we are going to be changing out to the new shirt and pants. If you're on PC, then you have access to the shirt and pants already. So you know, might already have them. Now, as far as your rings go, the new rings in mod 12 are phenomenal. But they are very hard to obtain. It's basically all RNG, just as like every other +5 in the game is. So I am lucky enough to have one, and I still need to farm the other one. But ideally, you will want to get the Ring of the Beast Slayer, and then the Ring of the Goblin Slayer. So the Beast Slayer is crit recovery, and the Goblin Slayer will be power recovery. If you don't have these yet, or you're still working on them, you can still use Underdark rings. You can still use the rings from Storm King's Thunder. You can even use the +4 versions of the mod 12 rings, except, you know, the only disadvantage to that is you're not going to have double offensive slots. But the statistics are most likely going to outweigh the Underdark rings, so you might want to finally put to bed your Underdark rings. I personally never farmed Storm King's Thunder rings, so I've been using the Underdark rings for quite some time. I would like to finally replace my Underdark ring with, like I said, the Goblin Slayer. However, you know, RNG just isn't on my side right now. But I do have the Beast Slayer, so, you know, we're 50% done with our rings at this point. It's one of the only things I have left in the game to actually get. Now, moving right along to your artifacts, we still are going to be using the Sigil of the Devoted as our active. However, there is just a plethora of other artifacts you can use as your active now. I'd like to mainly stick to the sigil just to keep, like I said, spamming dailies, non-stop. That is the most damage that you're going to do in game. Currently as a Warlock is just spamming dailies. So I like to keep the sigil in the back pocket just to get as many dailies cast as I can. Now, as far as your other two artifacts go, that is up to you. You will have to balance your own statistics as always, so just base your artifacts off of whatever statistics you need. So if you need more armor pen, then you want to look with artifacts that have armor pen on it. I particularly like my setup just for the sheer fact that I like to have all artifacts with power on it. You want to stack as much power as possible everywhere. So I currently am using the Sigil of the Hunter, which is going to be power recovery, which works out well for the AoE situational Hellbringer build, as recovery is going to be your fourth statistic that you're going to focus on, as well as the Sigil of the Controller, which is going to be power crit. Moving right along, let's go right into the armor reinforcements. Basically, you can use whatever you want. However, as I mentioned, I like to stack power, so I am using power on the 4 pieces here. And then if we go to the right side, then as always, you're going to stack AP on that side. So that consists of your neck, waist, and 2 rings, further increasing your action point gain. As far as armor enchantments go on the AoE loadout, I am still using the negation. I prefer the negation over everything else, especially in AoE encounters when you're rushing in there and getting hit by multiple things. This is going to further increase your damage resistance. I just like this enchantment overall, and I think it works out very well on the Warlock. As far as your weapon enchantment goes, on the AoE situational Hellbringer build, we are still going with the lightning. This is almost a 100% must if you're going to run the loadouts. However, you can swap, something else in. If you're running the Hellbringer for both single target and AoE, as mentioned in the mod 11 build and guide video, then you're going to want to use a Vorpal. But if you can afford multiple weapon enchantments, then yes, you're going to want to go with the lightning, as the chain damage just scales off everything, and you're built solely for AoE situations on this loadout, so it works out very well. Now, on the overall enchantments, like I said, you have to balance your statistics accordingly. So me personally, I do have 4 Azors in my rings, and then I stack Radiance everywhere else. And then defense slots, you can either use basically whatever you want. You can use Black Ice for the triple stats. You can use, Azors. You can use Darks. I like to mainly stick to Darks for the additional lifesteal. So that's going to wrap it up for the AoE Hellbringer gear. Next up, we will jump into the build itself. Alrighty, so let's talk about the build itself and what we're currently doing in Module 12 on the AoE Hellbringer things. Now keep in mind that this is purely built for AoE. So, keep that in mind when we go over certain feats that, oh, well, maybe Gar, you should be using this. Trust me, I've tested this build quite thoroughly. I've been using this since the loadouts have come out. And it works very well to maximize the Warlock DPS currently as it sits. So keep in mind we are a human, so we do have 3 extra heroic feats. So right away we are taking 3 out of 3 for Weapon Mastery. We're taking 4 out of 5 for Energizing Curse. We're going to take Empowered Rituals 3 out of 3. 5 out of 5 for Determined Casting. We're taking 2 out of 5 for Blood Pact. 3 out of 3 for Critical, and then 3 out of 3 for Scornful Curse. AoE situations, lesser curse damage, yes, you want it. You're basically relying on your curses and spreading not only your Warlock's curse, but your lesser curse on as many targets as possible to do maximum DPS. So we are taking 5 points into Relentless Curse, which has to do with lesser curse being spread. It's a 100% chance. Moving into the Fury Paragon, we are taking 5 out of 5 for Daughter's Promise. We're going to take 5 out of 5 for Gatekeepers, solely for the DOT components for Hellish. We're taking 5 out of 5 for Offering to the Prisoner, 5 out of 5 for Infernal Wrath, 5 out of 5 for Hell Touched. Again, AoE, you're going to be getting hit. Anything that hits you, you're going to, do 10% more damage. 5 out of 5 for Executioner's Gift. And then 5 out of 5 for Brutal Curse. And then finally, Creeping Death. So go ahead, I'll leave this on the screen momentarily so you can pause the video if necessary. Alrighty, and finally, to wrap up the AoE Hellbringer loadout aspect of the guide, we're going to talk about the companions here momentarily. I am still running the Con Artist, however, you can use the Sellsword if you so can, get the gear for it, as well as the Rebel Mercenary. But currently, I still am running the Con Artist. Obviously, rank 12 bonding's important, and then I am running 3 heroic rings of the companion, which is going to be power armor pen, as well as 6 brutals, which is going to be power crit. So I get a lot of statistics off my companion. As far as your other actives go, I'm still using the Belial companion. I'm using the Air Archon. The Owlbear is necessary right now if you're on console. However, if you're on PC and you already have the Owlbear changes for 12.5, you're going to have to substitute the Owlbear. The Owlbear is going to be out. Also, to wrap it up, the Siege Master. Now, there are some things that you can change. Like I said, right off the bat, if you are on PC and already are currently in Module 12.5, then the Owlbear, it's out, guys. It's done. You're going to replace this probably with the Fire Archon or the Earth Archon. Also, you can, toy around with the Belial and go all Archons. So you can run Fire, Air, Earth, Siege, and then whatever your summoned is going to be. That is going to be up to you and personal preference. But that's going to wrap it up for the Hellbringer section. We will move on to the single target Soulbinder build. Alrighty guys, and here we are on the single target loadout, which we are going to be running Soulbinder for. Soulbinder will outperform single target DPS versus Hellbringer. That's why we use Hellbringer for pure AoE situations, and then when we go into a boss battle, depending on the boss battle, if it's 100% pure single target, then I will switch over to the single target loadout. There aren't very many differences to the single target loadout from the AoE loadout as far as the gear goes. But we were introduced to a plethora of new gear in Mod 12. So as accordingly, let's go ahead and start. Right off the bat, we are going to be changing our headpiece to the Rex Corona, if you are lucky enough to get it. The equipped and active bonus, if you want to call it, is just, too good to pass up. Now, it is situational, as most things in the game are right now. If you were to go back and run MSVA or FBI, then you're probably going to want to switch back to your Relic gear and your Harl's Gaze. But for right now, if you're just solely running the newer content, then yeah, the Rex Corona is most likely the way to go. And as well as the counterpart to it, which is the Rex Chestplate. Just the equip bonus is very nice. You're going to get 1500 power for 10 seconds. Now, I know 10 seconds isn't a lot of time, however, but you're going to have to get fast and good at your rotations. So when you're going into a boss encounter, you have 10 seconds to basically get off your full rotation at least once before you lose that extra 1500 power. Now, the arms, we are still going to rock the Survivor's Wraps. There is nothing else in the game that has as high power on a single target item. It's almost 3,000 power just on the arms. Now, the effect does still suck. You're going to lose 25% of your hit points every time you use your daily. And you're basically going to be spamming your daily nonstop. So hopefully, your life still counteracts the effect on the Survivor Wraps. I've talked to several Warlocks. Most of them, they don't like the Survivor wraps, but like I said, you cannot pass up almost 3k power on a single item. Not currently, at least. And then wrapping it up, we are going to be using the Primal Raid boots. Nothing special here, just the sheer fact that we do want to go 100% away from the Relic. The statistics aren't much better than the Relic, so, you know, you're going to gain just a little bit. As mentioned before, that's all we will be changing. You're still going to be running the Orca set as your 3-piece set. Your rings are going to be the same, as well as your shirt and pants. Now, the artifacts can be slightly different. So for me, for instance, I am swapping in an Eye of the Giant because I need a little more statistical boost in some of the categories, such as crit and armor pen, when I switch to single target. But like I said earlier in this video, you will need to balance your own statistics. Now, as far as armor reinforcements, I am stacking power. And I think, yes, a little bit of crit here. But it's it doesn't matter. It's so minute that, the armor reinforcements don't really matter. You can stack all power, you can stack all crit, you can stack all armor pen. That's going to be completely up to you and where your character is in the game currently. Now, for the weapon set, we do have the Relic set. If you're lucky enough to have the Relic set, or if you're still working on your Relic set, this is from mod 10. You're gonna have to go back there and get it. I like the Relic set on single target. That way I can control the active effect when I shadow slip and, cast an encounter. I can control that a lot better single target than I can AoE. So that's why we use the Ascendant set on the AoE and the Relic set on single target. That way I can control the effect of the Relic set and then further increase my statistics. Now, as far as powers, we have Essence Defiler on the weapon. And then we have Dust to Dust and Combat Advantage. As far as your enchantments go, I do choose to use the Bark Shield on the single target. That way, I get a little boost of temp HP. Some of the single target encounters, they cast AoEs that can do a lot of damage. Well, this helps a little bit. So I do like the Bark Shield on the single target. However, you can choose to use whatever you prefer. Now, as far as weapon, we are going to still be using the Fey Touched for your Soul Spark generation. If you don't have a Fey Touched, you can substitute a Dread. And that's going to wrap up the gear, guys. We still are using the Sigil of the Devoted. As mentioned on the AoE build, we use it on the single target build too. So that's going to wrap up the gear for the Soulbinder. Alrighty, guys, and here we are for the build. We are going to take 3 out of 3 for Weapon Mastery, 4 out of 5 for Energizing Curse, 3 out of 3 for Rituals, 5 out of 5 for Casting, 5 out of 5 for Blood Pact. Since we're a human, we do have those 3 extra heroic feats, and this is why we are human. The Constitution damage is huge, so if you're rolling a human, you want to take 5 out of 5 for Blood Pact. It's important. And then 3 out of 3 for Critical. Now we're going to come down here into Damnation. We're going to take 5 out of 5 for Relentless Curse. However, you can take Parting Blasphemy. Parting Blasphemy is very good. However, weapon damage isn't that big of a deal yet. Further down the line, they do plan on making some Warlock changes that are going to affect the builds themselves. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. We're going to take 5 out of 5 for Sparkbinder. You're going to gain a lot of DPS from your Immolation Spirits, and this makes them last longer. So yes, we are taking 5 out of 5 for this. Now for the Fury Paragon, we're going to take 5 out of 5 for Critical Promise, 5 out of 5 for Burning Soul, 5 out of 5 for Wrath, 5 out of 5 for Executioner's Gift, 5 out of 5 for Brutal Curse, and 5 out of 5 for Murderous Flames. And then, of course, you're 1 into Creeping Death. So I'll go ahead and leave this up here for a second in case you want to pause the video, but that is the essential single target Soulbinder loadout build. Alrighty, and finally, as far as the single target loadout build goes for companions, basically the same thing, except you always want to remember to go ahead and take your owlbear off and replace it with something. I typically replace it with the Earth Archon, as I'm usually 100% HP. Very rarely I'm, not full health between my life still going off and my group healing me, plus all the other buffs going on. Very rarely am I less than 100%, so I do get that extra, 6% damage. Now, as mentioned before, you can go ahead and run the Fire Archon as well. That's completely up to you. Alrighty guys, and that is going to wrap up the Module 12 Warlock build and guide video. If you do have any questions, concerns, comments, go ahead and leave them below. I will get to them as soon as I can. I am going to be working on the written guide and build for MMO Mines. All the links will be in the description as always. If you do have any questions, please feel free to get at me on the social media aspect of things. The easiest way is either joining my Discord server or hitting me up on Twitter. Both of those links will be in the description as well. So, like I mentioned in the start of this video, the Warlock is kind of in a sad and depressed state right now. However, changes are coming. I just don't know how well those changes are going to be and how soon we're going to get them. Most likely, we're not going to see any of these changes for at least 5 to 6 months on console. PC will get them obviously a little sooner, but I don't have very high expectations, unfortunately. But only time will tell, so we will see. So if you guys do have any questions, as I did ask in the initial comments of the video here, I'm interested to see how many people are still actually playing their Warlock as their main. I know a lot of people went Temptation. I know a lot of people have been asking me to do a Temptation video and guide, and I've always refused. Maybe we'll do it. I can't promise you guys anything, but maybe we'll do it just for the sheer fact that I have nothing else to do in the game, so maybe we'll start playing around with things. I really don't want to do Templock. I play a Warlock for DPS. That is the role it is supposed to be in the game, and unfortunately right now it is just the worst DPS in the game. So I still love my Warlock. I still play my Warlock as my main. I would love to know how many of you guys are still out there struggling, grinding, trying to find groups. Tell me your stories, guys.